Hi everyone, welcome back. And today we're back with Kṣaṇāti continuing our series of Jupiter in Taurus and how it's going to be for the last three signs that we're covering today from Capricorn to Pisces. So I welcome Kṣaṇāti ji and please take over and let us know how it's going to be for these three signs.
Namaste, Navjeet. It's such an honor and pleasure to be here with you today to complete our series on Jupiter and Taurus for every ascendant. In the first part of the video, we covered the first three signs, Aries, Taurus, Gemini. Then we did Cancer, Leo, Virgo. We did Scorpio and Sagittarius through the part three. And today we're going to be covering Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. Also, Navjeet and I are going to be doing 3 more videos on Jupiter, where we'll be discussing Jupiter and Kritika Nakshatra, particularly on the Taurus side. We'll also do Jupiter and Rohini Nakshatra and Jupiter and Mrigashira Nakshatra. So many more of these Jupiter videos to come, but I've really wanted to spend as much time as possible on each ascendant so I don't have to rush through it. So that's why there are so many parts to this video, because no matter what ascendancy you are, I want to give a comprehensive and thorough analysis for everybody. So I'm just going to start with a quick chant to Guru Deva, Jupiter, in honor of his transit of Jupiter in Taurus, and then we will begin. Om Devanam cha Vishnam cha Gurum Kanchana Sanibam Buri Bhutam Triloksham Tam Namami Brahaspatim Devinam cha Risnam cha Gurum Kanchana Sanibam Buri Bhutam Triloksham Tam Namami Brahaspatim Devinam cha Rishnam cha Gurum Kanchana Shanibam Buri Bhutam Triloksham Tam Namami Brahaspatim Om Gram Grim Gram Saha Guru Deva Namah 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 Hari Om Namah Shivaya Namaste. Blessings, everyone. It's good to be doing this chant with you. So I'm just going to share my screen so we can pull up the North and South Indian chart for both of these positions here. So just give me one moment here as we do the Capricorn North and the Capricorn South. Okay, good. Good. Okay, great. Okay, perfect. Okay, so first thing I want to say is for the Capricorn ascendant. So it's both for Capricorn and Aquarius ascendant. We know that Jupiter and Capricorn's ascendant Saturn are both the guru planets. And also some is considered Venus the guru planet as the Asurya guru. But more specifically, as far as our evolutionary wisdom, we like to look at Saturn and Jupiter as the 2 primary guru planets. So every single guru teaches their wisdom in different ways, right? So when you have Jupiter as this very gracious and giving and benefic guru, we can think of this as the gentle and warm-hearted guru who's so kind and easygoing. That's the vibration of Jupiter as a guru. Saturn is the much more stern guru. Saturn is the much more disciplined guru who is pushing us against our not creating the most amount of pleasure, but is pushing us to our full evolution. I mean, even the ancient Vedic texts say no spiritual change or growth manifests without Shani Deva. So it's important to understand that spiritual growth cannot occur. But from a functional, benefic, and malefic perspective, Jupiter and Saturn are considered sometimes neutral to each other, and yet they teach in these extremely different ways. So we have to understand that for the Capricorn ascendancy, right? Well, what Rashi is Jupiter in Nietzsche position or debilitation? Jupiter is Nietzsche in Capricorn. So we have to understand that despite the neutral relationship between Jupiter and Saturn, that sometimes the transit of Jupiter can be challenging for the position of the Capricorn ascendancy due to that Nietzsche position when Jupiter is in Capricorn. So the first thing I want to mention here is that we can see that Jupiter is in the Taurus Rashi in the fifth bhava here. The fifth bhava here, this is a very important dharmic position for the Capricorn ascendancy because now the Dharma planet is in the Dharma house. And this is actually a very favorable alignment in terms of the spiritual evolution for the Capricorn ascendancy. Now, there are many different aspects which I want to emphasize that will be activated for the Capricorn ascendancy over this time. Now, the Jupiter is going to be activating a dharmic evolution here. And I always say that the three dharma houses, 1, 5, 9, and whenever I'm teaching Jyotish to my students, which I certify, I like to say, okay, well, what's the difference between Dharma 1, Dharma 5, and Dharma 9? Because we have to be able to make this distinction. I like to say that ascendancy is the personality dharma, which has to do with our evolution into our strengths and weaknesses. And we know that the fifth bhava and the ninth bhava are both educational dharma houses. So how do we make the distinguishment between the fifth house education and the ninth house education? Now, some will say that this is education, middle education like high school and college, and the ninth house is graduate education. But I do believe that's too general. And it's also kind of modernized too, because if you think of ancient times, there wasn't college or graduate education. So how can that be the signification? It's not really, although it can be applied to those things. The signification of the fifth bhava here, as it relates to Jupiter, has to do with spiritual techniques, right? Because once we kind of realize who we are through our dharma, then we kind of have to learn what our evolution is. And we learn this from spiritual teachers. We learn this from our parents. I mean, there are all sorts of sources which we can learn spiritual techniques. But all of these spiritual techniques can really help benefit the Capricorn ascendancy because the Capricorn ascendancy is very work oriented. They're very driven. They're very determined, and they want to get things done. But that cannot be the purpose of life. The purpose of life is our spiritual evolution, the alignment to the higher power of our understanding. And so what kind of spiritual techniques are we going to adapt into our life to help balance these material aspects of our life and also help us with our spiritual evolution? So some of these spiritual evolutionary aspects I like to emphasize, we can look at the Vedic umbrella, right? So this includes mantra. And actually, the fifth bhava is the house of Bhakti Yoga. The Bhakti Yoga is the path of yoga, which has to do with the heart. That's my specific path of yoga. And this has to do with chanting and kirtan, devotion, and the ultimate goal of the Bhakti Yogi is unconditional love, regardless of the qualities, conditions, and circumstances of the world and the other humanity. So the Bhakti devotional aspect is very highly emphasized here in the fifth house as well. This can also include learning all of the pranayama practices, as well as meditation, introspection. Vipassana can be a very powerful tool here, which are silent retreats. But you don't have to look in the Vedic umbrella. I mean, odds are if you're watching this video, you're into the Vedic umbrella. But I mean, there are other spiritual techniques, right? Like in the Native American techniques, we do sweat lodges, or we do solar dancing or sun dancing. There are different paradigms, right? And so we can find that kind of paradigm that resonates for us, or multiple paradigms that resonate for us, because the fifth house is also an educational house where we actually have to learn the spiritual techniques. It's not like we're born, unless we're some Mahaguru, with knowing all of these pranayamas, right? It's not like we're born and we're going to do Brahmari right away. Like, that's not how it works. We have to learn them from a spiritual teacher, right? So the education of these spiritual techniques as well. Also, if we're doing chanting, we have to learn Sanskrit. We have to learn proper pronunciation, proper enunciation so that we can get the full vibration and frequency of these mantras. So it's not just about doing them, it's about learning them properly. And this is a very important thing to understand as the Capricorn ascendancy. Also, there's key activations in the 5th house here, as it's the house of creativity. So we have to understand, what is your creative outlet? Is it music? Is it art? I'm in an art studio right now. I love to paint. Is it writing? You know, is it going to be making jewelry, making crafts? I mean, it has to do with everyone, regardless of how creative you are, has a creative outlet. If you don't have a creative outlet, that energy can actually be destructive within ourselves. So we have to find our creative outlet here and try to share it with the world as much as possible. So I really encourage that, and it's highly emphasized here. And then the last thing I want to say about the 5th house activation here is it's the house of romance. You know, the Capricorn ascendant can be very focused on work, very focused on job, and everyone deserves love. Everyone deserves romance. And so this 5th house activation could be very supportive for the romantic potential of the Capricorn ascendancy. Now, I will say that for the Capricorn ascendancy, just in general, it's very important that the romantic partner is materially independent, that they have a job, that they're working very hard, as to not be a distraction from their own material, spiritual evolution and growth. So those are some activations. Now, the next thing I wanted to mention is that people were talking about some of the activations that I mentioned, and they're like, how do you activate those things through transit? Now, of course, there's the aspect of the planets of Jupiter, and we know Jupiter's various aspects. But I found in my research that actually you look at the Rashi rulerships, and this is a very ancient technique that Parashara highly encouraged, right? So that ancient technique means, okay, what Rashi influences by Jupiter? Well, we know Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. We know that Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. So actually, even greater than the aspects when you're looking at transit, you want to look at Rashi activations here. So that's just something I wanted to mention as I look through the comments in the other videos. Always look through Rashi activation through the transits. Camilla Sutton also uses this technique in thorough detail, as well as the transit. So when we're looking at the Sagittarius activation, it's activating a moksha house, right? So as we kind of learn spiritual techniques, what is it helping us do? Helping us let go of our attachments. And no judgment on the Capricorn ascendancy, but they have attachments. They can have material attachments. I mean, I often say for the Capricorn ascendant, things are only beneficial in terms of the security and stability that they can provide. But security and stability actually lends towards attachment too. So even though it's very important to have stability and security, it's key to not have an attachment to those things, like money, like our jobs, because the more that we have an attachment to things, because ultimately God wants us to not have an attachment to things, that will rip those things out of their life. So it's very important for the Capricorn ascendancy to find out what your attachments are, develop spiritual techniques like meditation, chanting, pranayama, to let go of those attachments so that they aren't taken away from you by divine forces, because I don't want to see anything taken away from everyone. Also, the 12th house is foreign relocation. And so it's very important to understand that during this transit, one of the things that the Capricorn ascendancy might be educating themselves about is, where should I live? Where should I go? Where should I travel to? Who should I be traveling with? And actually, that's also connected to why is that relocation position also the house of non-attachment? Well, because you have to let go of where you are. You have to let go of your home. You have to let go of your apartment. You probably have to let go of your family if you're living near your family too. So, this can actually be a beneficial transit in terms of relocation as well. And then one more point is the 3rd house through Pisces activation of this transit. And as you can see, Rahu is there, and Rahu's been in Pisces. So I like to mention Rahu's transit during the course of this Jupiter and Taurus position as well, because that Pisces Rahu influence is also connected to Jupiter and creates a minor Guru Chandal Yoga over the course of this period too. Now, this is the house of Upachaya, self-improvement, evolution, communication, expression, and motivation. Now, that includes, with Rahu's transit there, listen, everyone has work to do. And sometimes the internal work that we have to do can actually be ignored because we have other things to focus on, like our job or our partners or our friendships or our family. But we always have things that if we look in the mirror that we can work on. And honestly, if you think you can look in the mirror and you don't have anything to work on, you got a lot of work to do. Um, we all have a lot of things to work on here. And so Rahu can create some apprehension or aversion to looking at ourselves in the mirror and working on the things that we need to. But because of this position, the motivation and ambition towards achieving Kama, because this is a strong Kama Bhava activation here, if we're not willing to work on our crap, if we're not willing to work on the things that are holding us back in life, they will continue to hold us back. I mean, one of my great teachers at the Ayurvedic Institute said, when we have an aversion to things, which means we see something we don't like and we run away from it, that's not beneficial. The actual thing is to see that aversion and run towards it, because you need to conquer that aversion to achieve your full potential. And that's a very strong activation here for the Capricorn ascendancy, is to kind of say, listen, I'm selfish. Yeah, it's hard to admit you're selfish, but work on it. You know, I'm indulgent. I'm disassociate. I, eat too much cheese, like whatever the heck it is. Like, really, it's okay to kind of look at yourself and be like, I want to work on these things, because through karma activation, it's going to help you achieve what you want in your life when you're willing to transparently look at yourself as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of romantic potential over this period. There could be lots of traveling and relocations, and there could be growth in terms of the achievement of our dreams and desires. But there's also a lot of education, a lot of letting go, and a lot of internal work to be done by the Capricorn ascendant during this transit. Okay, awesome. So hopefully the Capricorn ascendancy feels like they got a thorough analysis. Okay, Aquarius ascendancy. Now, I'm going to try to be unbiased here, because if any of followers know my chart, I'm an Aquarius ascendancy here, but don't worry, I'm not going to give it extra time just because it's mine. Okay, so for the Aquarius ascendancy here, same thing applies as when we talk to the Capricorn ascendancy. Different gurus teaching in different ways, although Jupiter is considered neutral and friendly in Aquarius, right? So we have to understand that for the Capricorn ascendancy versus the Aquarius ascendancy, it's more neutral than it is for the Capricorn ascendancy, where it's going to be challenging. Although we talked about the benefits of it for the Capricorn ascendancy as well. Now, for the Aquarius ascendant, and this is funny actually, because my Jupiter's in Taurus too. So in additionally to this being my transit, I'm having my Jupiter return here as well. For all of those born in the mid 1988 to late 1989, you'll be having your Jupiter return as well. Now, when we're looking at this activation of Jupiter in the fourth bhava for the Aquarius ascendancy, this is a moksha house. I mean, obviously the challenging energies of the 8th house and the 12th house, as far as the moksha houses, are more challenging than the moksha of the 4th house. But the moksha of the 4th house is important to understand, because as Jupiter transits through his position of a moksha house, it will manifest lessons that result to moksha. So the 4th house is the house of the home. The transit of this Jupiter in Taurus position is going to create a desire for a stable home. It's going to create a desire for a secure home, because Taurus likes security, and Jupiter in the 4th house has digbala here, or directional strength, right? That directional strength is really important because it's Cancer's house, and Jupiter has ucha, or exaltation, in the Cancer position. So this is actually a very favorable transit for the Jupiter in Taurus position if you're an Aquarius ascendancy. Now, this can increase the quality of your life at home. Increasing the quality of your life at home, which means your home is more enjoyable. You have more of the nice things that you want in your home: a nice couch, a nice television. If you like to watch TV, you have the altar, right? Because Jupiter is the guru planet. And when Jupiter is in the 4th house, it wants to make sure that the home is a spiritual temple. I mean, I'll share a little bit about myself, but like, I don't love going to temple, right? Because I don't like I like my spiritual practice, my sadhana is very personal to me. So it's very important that, I have this incredible space to do my own spiritual practices at home. So it's important to understand that for the Jupiter in Taurus position here, how do you build your altar? How do you build your spiritual sanctuary? So when you come from home from a hard day's work, or you come home from being busy in your life, or active in your life, or of service, and interacting with other people, because let's also understand that the Aquarius ascendancy is connected to Saturn and needs its private time. It needs its isolation, not necessarily for a long period of time, but that's where it gains its reservoir of strength. And so during this transit for the Aquarius ascendancy, home has to be our sanctuary, which means we have to have everything we need to help support our spiritual sadhana and help our spiritual evolution over the course of this time, which is the proper altar where we're honoring all the different aspects of God that most resonate with us. Also, the fourth house, the body is a temple too. And what you put inside your body is going to create a certain sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic vibration in terms of your psychological consciousness. And so it's very important as well in the home and in your physical body. You have to be careful that the things inside of it are creating a sattvic vibration or a balance of the three gunas so that they can facilitate the highest spiritual evolution for you. If you are wondering, okay, I have a home and I kind of want to move, I mean, this can be one of the most beneficial times to move. But it's not the most beneficial time to travel, because when the Jupiter is in the fourth house here, it wants to get that stability and security in the home space. So it is important to understand that what can I do to kind of create that stability and security in my home? If I'm in a stable home, I would not recommend leaving right now. If I'm not in a stable home, which is not the ideal apartment, house, condominium, whatever it may be, then I need to find it. I need to work hard for it too, because Jupiter has to do with earning in Taurus. And so this earning vibration can help create that stability and security in the home too. So if you're wondering, okay, well, I'm not living where I should and I'm an Aquarius ascendancy, give it a year, because over the course of this transit, you will kind of create that space that you were always desiring in terms of your physical space that you're living in. The last thing I want to say, for those that are Aquarius ascendancies and your mother is alive, the fourth house is the house of the mother, and mother knows best. Love your mother, because this is the most important time where you can actually have a spiritual evolutionary growth with your relationship. Before I saw this transit happening, I decided I was going to go live with my mother, take care of her, support her, and be with her. And I'm going to be here with her for another month or two during the energy of this transit, so I can really facilitate my spiritual evolutionary growth with my mother. Now, I understand that dependent on various energies in the chart, you might not be able to get along with your mom this way. It has to do with maternal figures as well. So mother, grandmother, sister. I mean, all of these things are important. But if you have the potential to improve your relationship with your mother, there's no better time than now to kind of focus on that aspect of your life. So how do we cultivate and improve our relationship with the maternal figures in our life? This is a very important transit in order to be able to do this. A couple other activations is this is in the 11th house, which is the house of allies and friendship. Through the Sagittarius activation, everyone, look at the Rashi activation, not necessarily aspect only. Now, when you're looking at this Sagittarius activation of the 11th bhava, this, as I mentioned, the Aquarius energy, they can be picky about their friends. They can actually, have had friends that hurt them, abuse them, PTSD as it comes with friends, either verbal, physical, whatever it may be, which can cause them to be a little introverted or reclusive, right? But because of the Sagittarius activation on the 11th bhava, this is also a powerful time to deepen our relationship with our friends, that we already have a meaningful relationship, but because of the spiritual evolution activation, maybe we couldn't be as present for our friends, right? I mean, a lot of times that in life, and it's just the human quality, it's just the human condition, we think, what can I get from them? What can I get from my friend? What can I get from my mom, right? There's a lot of interpersonal activations here. That's not how relationships works. Relationships are a two-way street. It's a give and take, a love and receive, and then the other person loves and receive. And that's what is a harmonious relationship with our parents, especially if we're adults, and with our friends. So it's not a question of what can our friends get from us for the transit of the Aquarius. No, what can we give to our friends? Because that's a Sagittarius energy too. How can we be in service to them? What can we offer them? And that will create an energy too, where it's like you can make new friendships, but those friendships should not be based on convenience. Those friendships should not be based on the qualities that those people have, but what can I do to help another person? And that will create the most harmonious relationships. This is also the house of profits and investments. And so, you know, for the Aquarius ascendancy, it's a good time to make calculated moral and ethical investments as well. And this is also a long-term travel position. So please travel and see the world as much as possible too. Now, the last thing I want to mention is that Pisces activation on the second bhava for the Aquarius ascendancy. This has to do, of course, with Rahu in there. It has to do with you know, uncertainty and fear around our material abundance. I mean, when Rahu is in the second house, if you have that as a natal position, it can actually be a lot of worry and fear. Do we have enough money? Am I earning enough money? But with K2 opposite of the 12th house and now Jupiter's transit in Taurus also activating the second house, I love to say this and I get chill. Faith and fear cannot coexist. You are either in place of fear, which means you don't believe God has your back, you don't believe in the abundance of the universe, or you're in a place of faith. My uncle Durgadas, who just passed away, always said this. I loved it. The universe is conspiring for your happiness. It's one of my favorite quotes because conspiring is a word which is fear, and then it's conspiring for your happiness too. It's important to understand this, that when we have faith that we're doing our dharma, we're doing the thing that the God has put us here to do, then why would we worry about money? Because the universe wants you to be happy. It wants you to be successful. It wants you to be in joy. And so, again, if you want material abundance at this time, it's not about how do I charge people more and how do I keep working so hard so that my hair is falling out? How do I keep doing all of these things, you know, so that I can earn more money because I need more money? No, that's not going to be beneficial over the course of this period. If you're in Aquarius transit, just go slowly about your dharma. And trust me, the universe will respond with the most beautiful and abundance. But the more you have the fear over your material security over this time, that is where you will financially struggle. So again, there's a catch-22 there. And hopefully this elaboration for the Aquarius ascendancy was beneficial. So the last one that we're going to go over today is the Pisces ascendancy. Now, the Pisces ascendancy, we know that it's ruled by Jupiter. The Pisces ascendancy, or Lagnesh, is ruled by Guru Deva. So highly functionally benefic transit over the course of this period for the Pisces ascendancy. Now, where does Jupiter go here? Now, we already talked about Jupiter in the third house here, that Jupiter in the third bhava for the Pisces ascendancy is going to be very different than when we talked about it for the Capricorn functional ascendants, because the Pisces ascendancy here is highly beneficial transit. Whenever Jupiter is having transit, it's always Jupiter's friend. Now, this aspect of the activation of the third bhava, it increases this quality, which is going to be a great blessing to the evolution of the someone. I mean, ambition, motivation, and support. Now, it doesn't mean there's going to not be challenges, because let's say that Jupiter is Kapha planet, which can create laziness. So, I mean, even though there is going to be a lot of good intuition, right? Jupiter is this highly wise planet, and it's going to have wisdom as to, this is my goal. This is how I'm going to reach that goal. But if we just sit on the couch, like, it's not going to accomplish anything here. So again, there is a great intuition and insight over the course of this third house transit in terms of what is our next step? What is our motivation? And it is creating a sattvic and very spiritual vibration in the things that is motivating us. So hopefully it is God's will for us that is motivating us during this transit for the Pisces ascendancy. But that is very important to still get off the bum and do everything that you need to do over the course of this transit, and not just have the intuition, because how often in life do we have a good idea and then we forget how to follow through on it? So it's a highly action-oriented period for the course of this Pisces ascendancy as well, because it will help motivate us to accomplish our dreams. I mean, that's part of the reason why we're having a 10th house activation through the Sagittarius Dhanus Rashi over the course of this transit as well, because that's the house of our career. That's the house of our life purpose. That's where we are most fulfilled. I mean, I always say 10th house activation. If you had $1 billion, you'd still be doing it. So allow that motivation to kind of help you see what you would be doing if you had all the money in the world, and allow yourself to make the changes in your life, because the third house is an upachaya vibration where it wants to actually let go of the things that no longer serve us, so that we can accomplish what we need to do in our life purpose over the course of this period for the Pisces ascendancy. And in turn, through that ascendant being activated, where Rahu in the ascendant is causing an identity confusion. Well, why would Rahu in the ascendancy here be causing an identity confusion, which is already challenging enough for a Pisces ascendancy who is constantly channeling an intuitive, where they're not sure exactly what's their thoughts and what's coming from the Akashic record, right? But it's important to understand that that identity confusion actually serves. It serves the Pisces ascendancy, because they're changing and they're getting closer to their life purpose. And in that process of growing and changing and making these dramatic changes in our life in terms of the things that no longer serve us, it will aid quite well in the life purpose of the individual and the realization of the Guru Deva, the guru inside of us, the highest evolutionary energy within ourselves for the Pisces ascendancy over the course of this period. So there's strong dharmic activations, strong growth activations, and it's really going to bode well for career fulfillment activations for the Pisces ascendancy. The nuts and bolts of what you have to do if you're a Pisces ascendant is let go of the things that aren't serving you, and be willing to let go of the ego or the false identity that Rahu in the ascendancy can also kind of create confusion in that area. So thank you, everyone, for joining us through the first part of this series. I hope everyone feels like they got a comprehensive analysis on these different aspects of their chart, and look forward to doing Jupiter in the various nakshatras as well with Nav. So thank you all so much. Hari Om, Aum Namah Shivaya, and Namaste.